Hello, everyone, and welcome to another badass episode of Gravely Amusing, the only podcast that can still program their parents' VCR. They just don't want to. I'm your host, the man child of the macabre, the host with the most cholesterol, your favorite horror podcast creator, crying Brian Peters. Even though we're dropping a Halloween movie franchise special on Halloween, I still wanted to give you this episode. It's time for two things: a list of what I think are the 31 best movies you can watch the next few days for Halloween. And I'm going to tell you the story of when I met the demon. Yeah, it's time to tell you. So saddle up and prepare for some scary movies and a scary story. So let's start this list. This list is in no particular order. It's just what I feel is the best 31 films to watch at Halloween time. It's strictly my opinion. It Some movies that you love might not be on this list. Some movies that you hate might be on this list. Regardless, it is what I feel is the best of the best for Halloween time. So most of these movies take place during Halloween, and most of them are family films. I think that Halloween time shouldn't be all slashers and like gore filled movies. It should be a nice mixture of something spooky and fun for everybody in the family. So I particularly like movies that are just a little bit spooky and just kind of fun and just the spirit of Halloween, not necessarily everybody dies movies. So you know what I mean, Vern? So uh starting off this list with a bang is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, most people put this as a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie. I think particularly it's a good mixture of both. The movie actually takes place on November 1st. That's where the movie starts. It doesn't all take place on November 1st because, and if you don't think I'm right, the werewolf or the wolf man says, or the mayor says 365 days till Halloween, and the wolf man says 364. So, um, I really, well, I'm going to release on November 1st as to cap off Halloween weekend. I'm going to release a Tim Burton special focusing on The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is his 30th anniversary, and I'm going to get into some Tim Burton movies and kind of the mind of Tim Burton. So that's going to be a new episode that'll drop in a few days for you guys as we do a big Halloween weekend for you guys. Nightmare Before Christmas. What can I say? It's a classic. It's so good. It's if you care about Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't, but some people do, it's 95% on the tomato meter because, you know, Rotten Tomatoes isn't rigged at all. It's a very highly rated movie. That's all that matters. If you don't know what this movie's about, if you've never seen it, you really need to watch it. The film follows the misadventures of Jack Skeleton. He is a giant skeleton and he lives in Halloween Town. Apparently, every holiday has its own town, it has its own world. And I would love to see a sequel or actually maybe like a little mini series of the show one day where they go into the other Halloween or the other Halloween, the other holiday towns, and we can see kind of what like St. Patrick's Day looks like, Easter. I think that there's a whole world that that could be explored. I think there's so much more. Or maybe we shouldn't touch a beloved classic and just leave it the way it is. Whatever. But Jack Skelton is like the main Halloween guy of Halloween Town. He's their beloved pumpkin king, even though he has like no pumpkins whatsoever on his outfit. He's become bored with the same routine of frightening people in the real world. When Jack accidentally stumbles on Christmas Town, all bright colors and warm spirits, he gets a new lease on life, and he plots to bring Christmas under his control by kidnapping Santa Claus and taking over the role. But Jack soon discovers that the best laid plans they can go bad. This movie came out October 29th, 1993. October 29th, 1993. Oh my gosh, I feel old. Um, and it celebrates its 30th anniversary this year. It is from the mind. Well, Tim Burton produced it. I will get more into like how it was made and stuff, but it wasn't directed by Tim Burton. Most people think it was. It was actually directed by Henry Selick, and kind of from the mind of Tim Burton. Next on the list, we have. Remember, these are in no particular order. These are just what I think are the movies you really need to watch on Halloween. Is Hocus Pocus 1. Hocus Pocus 2 was, yeah, it was all right. There's some good parts in it, but nothing beats the original. I didn't like what I didn't like about the sequel is I didn't like how the Sanderson sisters were kind of made into like sympathetic villains. In the first movie, they just wanted to eat children. Like in the second one, it was all about like how Winnie really actually cared about her sisters, and that's all good and like okay, but like I still want them to be evil. Like I like villains just to be villains. But each his own. You can watch Hocus Pocus too. I mean, it's not a horrible film at all. It's just some things I would have did differently. But you can't beat the original. If you don't know what Hocus Pocus is about, it is a Disney film. It's fine and fun for the whole family. And basically, it's a story about three sisters who are witches, and they get hung at the stake, and they can only be resurrected if a virgin lights a candle, a certain candle, and some virgin dude lights the candle, resurrects the sisters, and the sisters like to uh, kind of absorb the souls of children to be able to stay immortal and eternally young. It celebrated its 30th anniversary actually on July 16th of this year. So it celebrates 30 years as well this year. So that's why I did those back to back. Gotta check out that movie if you haven't. You're really, really missing out. Next on the list, it's kind of a combo because one version of this came out in 1984 and the other version came out in 2012, like almost like 30 years later almost. But the original one of this in 1984 was, if it might have been the first, no, maybe the second movie that Tim Burton directed. Yes, I said Tim Burton. Um, was the original. It's just a short movie of Frankenweenie. It's live action. The story of Frankenweenie. This one actually has Daniel Stern in it as Ben Frankenstein. Shelley Duvall is the mom. Susan Frankenstein, and the main character played by Barrett Oliver, who was actually in Neverending Story as Sebastian or Bastian, and he plays Victor Frankenstein. Basically, in both these adaptations, live action live action is pretty funny, and the animated one might be a little bit better. It's stop motion, it's Tim Burton style. But basically, what happens is young Victor Frankenstein is a science nerd. He's an outsider at school, but he only has one friend, and his friend is Sparky the dog. When tragedy strikes and Sparky actually dies, Victor is heartbroken, and his science teacher gives him the idea how to bring Sparky back to life. The experiment is successful, all goes well, but Victor's fellow students want to steal this secret and use it to resurrect other dead animals with monstrous consequences. That's it in the 2012 version. Um, this movie, that both of them are just they're just so fun. It's just a good kid film. As you know, I absolutely love Tim Burton and Frankenstein. So you really can't beat it. This is a good one. Highly recommend. Next on the list here, I have written by someone you might know, James Gunn. James Gunn and his brother, and James Gunn. It was not directed by James Gunn, but it was written by him, and it is the live action Scooby Doo. James Gunn wrote both of them. Some of them don't rate them very high. I think the movies are so fun. It's nice seeing a live action Scooby Doo. I think the second one's okay too. The first one takes place basically. It's 2 years after Class of Egos by Mr. Inc. Mr. Inc. is done. Everybody's kind of gone their separate ways. And Scooby Doo and Fred, Daphne, Shaggy, Velma, they come together because they're summoned to a spooky island to investigate a series of paranormal incidents in the ultra hip Spring Break hotspot. The sequel, I think they're summoned to like a theme park island, or maybe it's a vacation island. I think they went a vacation or something, and someone's trying to bring them all together. And I won't spoil it for you, but Scooby Doo is just fun, mysteries, paranormal, spooky stuff, and it's written by James Gunn, who's really is a heck of a writer, and it's just good fun. I highly recommend it, and it's got a really great cast. It's got Matthew Lillard as Shaggy in it. That's really all I need. I love Matthew Lillard. Um, he's my favorite Scream killer. Has Stu. It's just good, clean. It's good fun. It's rated PG. There are some like little kind of jokes that adults would get, and that's kind of what makes it better. It's good for everybody. Next on the list, I have a movie that's only 2 years old. But my wife's like, we gotta watch this movie, and we watched it on Netflix, and it is actually really good. The movie is called Night Books, and it is about a kid named Alex who's a creative boy. He has a strong passion for writing scary stories, which is kind of like me. Uh, but when he's labeled weird and he's rejected for the things he likes, he says he'll never write again. Just then, an evil witch played by Kristen Ritter. If you ever watched Breaking Bad, she's on there, or Jessica Jones show. That's Kristen Ritter, and she captures him in this magical apartment in New York City. And this apartment kind of like travels around the world. And the witch demands that he tell her a scary story every night if he wants to stay alive. Trapped inside with him is another kid, or is a cat named Lenore, who kind of watches the every move of the kids. And other kids that are locked in with him is a kid named Yasmin, who's another prisoner who knows how to survive like the witch's whims. And Yasmin and Alex work together to try to help, escape the witch and get Alex to embrace the things he loves and who he is. Came out uh 2 days before my birthday on September 15th in 2021. It is a really, really great movie. Highly recommend it. Now, if you're looking to find out where these movies are streaming, if you download the app, it's called Real Good. It's ReelGood. I apologize. I should have done the work for you. I'm so sorry. Um, but you can find out where anything is streaming. This movie is. I really really like this movie. It's now one of my new Halloween favorites. Next on the list, I have Hotel Transylvania. Hotel Transylvania. The whole series is really good. I haven't seen the last one that Adam Sandler didn't do, but it was on Amazon Prime, and I missed it. I just purchased it digitally, so I'm gonna definitely give it a watch. But what Hotel Transylvania is basically is it has all Universal monsters in it. It's pretty sweet, but basically monsters don't want to deal with humans. They kind of wanted to live their own lives, and so to get away from humans and just to relax, they go to Count Dracula's Hotel Transylvania, which is a resort where they can be themselves without humans around to bother them. On one special weekend, though, Dracula invites his friends, the Visible Man, the Mummy, and everybody to celebrate the 118th birthday of his daughter, who's named Mavis. And she's voiced by Selena Gomez. Count Dracula is voiced by Adam Sandler. However, some human stumbles in on the hotel, even though it's supposed to be hidden, and he falls in love with Mavis. And Count Dracula has to basically hide the human from all his monster friends. There are four movies in this franchise. I highly recommend them. They are so fun, and I am not 100% sure where they're streaming on, if anywhere, but please check them out. This movie, first movie came out in 2012, and it really hasn't been any miss, unless the fourth one really was a miss. But it goes through like Universal monster history and just different. It's just it's fun. It's so good. It's for the whole family. It's really good. I think there's even a TV series that they did. So highly recommend it. Next on the list, I have a movie that I haven't watched a whole bunch, but but um what I do remember it quite well, um, and I really did like it. I think I don't watch it as much is because I think of other movies first in my Halloween watch list, and and sometimes I forget about this one. Um, but it is a really good one. I just watched it recently. Um, so this movie is Monster House. It came out in 2006, and it's about these three kids that believe that a house in their neighborhood is actually a living creature that wants to eat them. Halloween is close approaching, and the trio must find a way to destroy that house before innocent trick or treaters get eaten too. It's pretty cool. It's got Steve Buscemi voice somebody in there. That's all he really knows. It is quite good. I highly recommend it. Next on the list is a movie that came out in 2012, and it is called Paranorman. Paranorman is an anime movie as well. It it's about a kid named Norman Babcock who has the ability to speak with the dead. Hence the cool nickname Paranorman. He prefers the company of the dead people to the living because living people are annoying. So Norman receives word from a strange uncle Pendergast, voiced by John Goodman, that a centuries-old witch curse on their town is real and it's about to come true, and that only Norman can stop it. So when zombies rise from their graves, Norman must summon all his courage and compassion and push his paranormal abilities to the limit to save his townspeople. Um, the movie is pretty darn cool. It just has cool imagery and it's just a good name, Paranorman. It's just a good name. Next on the list, I have Casper, starring Christina Ricci, one of my childhood crushes, and she's still a pretty lady. Casper is based on a classic cartoon and comic from the back in the day. This movie came out in 1995. I was I was 9 years old, so I remember it fairly well. Uh, but the movie Casper is just a kind young ghost who peacefully haunts a mansion in Maine. Love Maine, love New England. Wish I could afford to move there. When specialist James Harvey, played by Bill Pullman, arrives to communicate with Casper and his fellow spirits, he brings along his teenage daughter, Kat, played by Christina Ricci. Casper quickly falls in love with Kat, but their budding relationship is complicated because he's a ghost, but also by his troublemaking uncles that live in the house with them. This movie is just really cute, really fun Halloween movie. It's got so much heart, and I hope one day we can see Casper shine again. I really do. I really do. Another movie on the list is a movie that's so highly rated and so fantastic. One of the greatest movies ever made, hands down, is Steven Spielberg's 1982 film E.T. How many of you knew that or remembered that this movie took place on Halloween? The iconic scene of Elliot flying through the sky was on Halloween. So this movie, after a stranded alien on Earth is discovered and befriended by a young boy named Elliot. Elliot. He brings the extraterrestrial into his home, and Elliot introduced to his family, and he calls him ET. Uh, and this had Drew Barrymore in it. I think it was one of her first movies. But the children decide to keep ET secret. Soon, however, ET falls ill and results in a government intervention and a dire situation for both Elliot and the alien. And ET just wants to get home. So it's a friendship between a boy and a lost alien just trying to get home. This is one of the greatest movies ever. I mean, it's freaking Steven Spielberg. I mean, what do you expect? This movie just uh, so good, so good. You gotta watch it. And a lot of movies kind of rip off this movie because it's so good. So next on the list is a movie that came out in 1991. If you know what I mean, Vern, it is Ernest Scares Stupid. This movie is so campy. It's so silly. Honest to God, I would love the character Ernest to come back and be played by John Cena. I think that that would just be wonderful, or like the son of Ernest. I don't know. It would. Uh, I miss Ernest, but comic actor named Jim Varney played this character Ernest. You know, there's Ernest Saves Christmas, and there's Ernest Scares Stupid. So Ernest P. Worrell is working as a garbage man in a small town in Missouri. Despite the warnings, a superstitious local old lady Hackmore, played by Eartha Kitt in one of her best roles ever, he accidentally unleashes a devious troll named Trantor. Yeah. It's a slimy creature that has been confined under a tree for 200 years. Trantor changes some kids into wooden dolls and turns Ernest's dog Rimshot into a log. Rimshot. um, Ernest then teams up with old lady Hackmore to get rid of the beast and bring the kids back to life. It's really a cool movie. It's just fun. Sometimes you just need to watch good movies, and it's not perfect, but it's just silly. You gotta realize it for what it is. Next on the list, I have another Christina Ricci because she's the queen. Is the Adams Family 1990 version, or I'm sorry, 1991. The Adams Family. So Adams Family live action had an amazing cast of Raul Julia, rest in peace, as Gomez, Angelica Hudson as Morticia. You had Christopher Lloyd, one of the greatest of all time, as Uncle Fester. Christina Ricci as Wednesday. I mean, it was great. It and its sequel, Adam's Family Values, watch them both back to back. You will not be disappointed. It's so funny. It has just such a weirdness to it. It's really great. In the first movie, Fester is missing, and a man claims to be Fester. The missing brother Gomez shows up. The family is excited, but Morticia begins to suspect that the man's a fraud since he can't recall details of Fester's life. So, with the help of lawyer Tully, lawyer Tully, Fester manages to get the Adams clan evicted from their home, kind of takes over, and it's Gomez trying to get his brother back, trying to get his family back, and all that. It's really good. Um, it's good. The sequel has Joan Cusack in it, and Joan Cusack plays this Black Widow murdering woman that tries to marry Uncle Fester. Both movies focus on Fester, as they probably should, because it's Christopher Lloyd. It's just they're so fun. I mean, they don't take place fully during Halloween. There's some parts that are have Halloween things in it, but they're just fun. It's just to get you in the spirit of Halloween. Next on the list is Goosebumps live action movie. Came out in 2015. Stars Jack Black as R.L. Stein, As much as I love Jack Black, thought that was just I thought it was kind of weird casting. But basically, what happens in this movie, it does have a sequel that actually takes place on Halloween. It's called Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween. The first one I think is just a little bit better than that one, but it's just me. But basically, this kid's upset about moving to the big city from the big city to a small town. Young Zach Cooper finds a silver lining when he meets this beautiful hot chick next door, and the teen is surprised to learn that her father is R.L. Stein, the famous author of the best-selling Goosebumps series. When Zach accidentally unleashes the monsters from the books, it's up to R.L. Stein, his daughter, and Cooper to return the beast back to the books where they belong. So books come to life, spooky stuff. It's a pretty cool movie, and it was just fun seeing books that I grew up with and loved. Just being in a movie finally. Next on the list, there is a recent version of this with Anne Hathaway, which is pretty darn good. It really is. I'm a little partial to the original though, which is 1990s, starring Angelica Houston of Witches or The Witches. What the movie is about is while staying in a hotel in England with his grandmother, uh, young Luke spies on a convention there of witches. The Grand High Witch, played by Angelica Houston, reveals a plan to turn all children into mice through a magical formula. When they find that Luke has overheard this, the witches test the formula on him. Now, with the help of his grandma and the hotel manager, Luke the mouse must fight back against the witches. It is so fun. Jim Henson did the makeup on Angelica Houston and the other witches. Um, how the witches look are so creepy and just you'll never forget it. I say watch them both, but the 1991 is a little bit better in my opinion. So next up on the list is a Pixar Disney movie that holds a little special place in my heart. My nieces are half Puerto Rican, so this is just really this just really speaks. It's a really good film to watch with them. So um, that movie, of course, is Coco. What the movie's about is, despite his family's generations old band on music, young Miguel dreams of becoming an accomplished musician like his idol Ernesto de la Cruz. Desperate to prove his talent, Miguel finds himself in the stunning and colorful land of the dead. After meeting a charming trickster named Hector, the two new friends embark on an extraordinary journey to unlock the real story behind Miguel's family. So it celebrates the Day of the Dead in Latino culture. It celebrates music. It is just a wonderful family film, full of a lot of heart, and it's a lot of these movies have heart. If I love movies that have heart, um, it's just a great Pixar movie, one of the best, and extremely highly rated. Just a beautiful movie. Next on the list is a movie that I always wanted as a kid. I think it kind of would have done a little bit better as a miniseries, but it is what it is. When my list came out in 2019, my wife and I were really excited to see it, and the movie wasn't too bad. I thought I thought it could have been better, but it really wasn't that bad. And that is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Um, in this movie, the shadow of the Bellows family has loomed large in the small town of Mill Valley for generations. It is in a mansion that young Sarah Bellows turns her tortured life and horrible secrets into a series of scary stories. These terrifying tales soon have a way of becoming all too real for a group of unexpected teens who stumble upon Sarah's spooky home. So basically, it's like Goosebumps, just a little bit for older kids. It's PG, it's PG-13. Um, it pulls a lot of images from the classic books from when my wife and I were children. It it's It's not bad, and it makes you cringe a little bit because some of the original stories were just so good that it's good to see how that live action finally happen. This is really cool. Next on the list is the Steven Soderbergh's The Mummy franchise. I mean, it's just Brendan Fraser's Mummy franchise, mostly just The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. I I love these versions so much. They're so fun. It's Indiana Jones with a little bit of horror in it. Uh, and Brendan Fraser just blows it out of the water in these. They're the best version of the Mummy movies. If you listen to my other podcast on the Mummy, you know how much I love Steven Sommers' version. These movies are just so fun, and they definitely get in the spirit of Halloween and just being able to laugh. Highly recommend them. Next on the list, and these are in no particular order, but maybe they should have been. But this one is one of my all-time favorite movies. Period. Um, this movie, this movie makes me love Universal movie horror movies, probably even more. Excuse me. And this one's a parody of one of the best ones. It is, of course, director Mel Brooks's absolute masterpiece. Came out December 15th, 1974. It is play with Gene Wilder in it. It is Young Frankenstein. This movie I will review eventually. This movie is based on the movies, Frankenstein, but more so Son of Frankenstein and Ghost of Frankenstein and Universal. It's basically the movie is about a respected medical lecturer, Doctor Frederick Frankenstein, learns that he has inherited his infamous grandfather's estate in Transylvania. Arriving at the castle of Director Frankenstein, soon begins to recreate his grandfather's experiments with the help of his servants Igor, Inga, and the fearsome Frau Bullsche. After he creates his own monster, new complications ensue with the arrival of his fiancee. It's Mel Brooks is at his finest. It is so funny. It is so good. I love this. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. You gotta watch it. Next on the list, what do I have on next on this list? Okay, a movie that definitely takes place on Halloween is a movie that's based on a beautiful comic book by I believe it's James O'Barr. It's just it's such a good story, but it is The Crow. Movie was released in 1994. It is a rated R. Is definitely not a full family film. Um, but the story of this movie is the night before his wedding, musician Eric Draven, played by Brandon Lee, who did pass away in the filming of this movie. He was the son of Bruce Lee, and Eric and his fiancee are brutally murdered by members of a violent inner city gang. And on the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the gothic mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger. Tracking down the thugs responsible for the crimes and mercilessly murdering them, Eric eventually confronts the head gangster, Top Dollar, to complete his macabre mission. Basically, he's a dude that gets risen from the dead from a crow and gets to kill the people that killed him and his fiance. It is also this movie that inspired the wrestler Sting's makeup, the crow makeup, and the crow look. It all comes from this fantastic movie. Excuse me. I'll get a little drink of water here. Much better. All right, now we're going into a little weird here. This movie next on the list, it's bonkers. This movie is absolutely bonkers, but but it is a very very good film. But it makes you think. It's a weird one. But this movie came out in 2001. It's a cult classic, and it is Donnie Darko. Yes, Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko stars Jake Gyllenhaal. I think his sister Maggie's in there too. Drew Barrymore plays a teacher, and this movie is whack. So basically, what this movie's about is it's a funny and moving movie, but it's about this disenchanted teenager that survives a freak accident and begins to explore what it means to be alive and kind of be in love. He uncovers secrets of the universe. Uh, this description isn't pretty good. I'm so sorry. So basically, explain this movie is this kid. It involves time travel and kind of like black holes and parallel universes. But basically, this kid named Donnie Darko, um, he he survives a freak accident. I believe it's like a jet engine that falls on his bed. Um, like he gets out of bed and and this thing falls and it should have killed him. In the process, there is this masked bunny guy that's just kind of following him around, and we don't know why. And it's just like it's this movie that is just so hard to explain that you just have to watch it and just watch. Don't ask too many questions. Just watch it. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's a weird one, but it's just so smart how it all ties together to tell this crazy, crazy story. So Donnie Darko, go check it out and get back at me and tell me if you liked it or not. Um, Next on the list is Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is definitely not a kids movie. It is definitely a an adult movie. It's got nudity, sexuality, everything a grown boy needs. This movie was released in 2024. It's kind of an anthology movie because it has so many different stories woven into one night of Halloween. So many different things going on, but it's interwoven stories that demonstrate that some traditions are best not forgotten. As the residents of a small town face real ghosts, real goblins, werewolves are in it, murderers, it's just all these different stories of Halloween night woven together, and they're spooky stories, and it's a good one. It has like everything you would want in different Halloween movies, all woven into one. Like you have a slasher kind of in it, you have ghost stories, you have just little spook stuff. It is pretty good, and it's better than listening to an old man yawn. But I'm a hardworking man. What can I say? So check out Trick or Treat. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Next on the list is another family film, Halloween Town. How cool was this movie on the Disney Channel back in the day? This is still streaming on Disney Plus. Is one of the classics. It is crazy. It's about a girl that finds out that she's a witch and her grandma's a witch. And there's this whole other world that is Halloween Town. And it has all these spooks and monsters and ghosts and goblins that live in this parallel world. And that's where her grandma lives. And there's like this weird mare that's like a wizard. And um everybody there is Halloweeny, and it's where I want to live. And my wife, uh, my wife has her 40th birthday next year, and for the 40th birthday, she wants to go to Halloween Town in Oregon, and she wants me to take her to the town of Twilight in Washington. So that's what we're gonna do. So, because we love Halloween stuff, even though her birthday's in August, I'm gonna do something really nice in August for her, and then we're gonna take this trip in Halloween time. So we're really excited. So Halloween time. I mean, what more can I say? It's a must watch. You have to watch it. I don't even remember what year that movie came out, but it was in the '90s. So there you go. Um, Next on the list is one of the other greatest Tim Burton movies of all time. Came out in 1988. It is the movie that probably gave Michael Keaton the role of Batman. It's of course Beetlejuice. This movie, this movie is there's a lot of things in this movie where as an adult I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like Beetlejuice went into a freaking whorehouse. Like, and in the unedited version, like he says like the F word, and there are parts in this movie that really scare me, like when they're walking through the hallway, um, in the netherworld or whatever, and they open this door and all these ghosts float up, like the janitor shows them or something. Um, there are parts of this movie that are really scary, like to me, but it's the best ghost movie there is. If you've never watched this movie, you're missing out on Tim Burton masterpiece. And Michael Keaton is so good in it, and Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, and Catherine O'Hara, of course, and Day Miss Day. This movie's just it's so fun, and yeah, you gotta watch Beetlejuice. I mean, for gosh sakes. Um, Now to give you the final three, which I put as the tippy top of movies to watch during Halloween time. Um, Now honorable mentions that I would like to say that are good to watch during Halloween time. Now these are TV specials, so they can be considered kind of a movie, but they were TV specials, so I guess maybe not considered a full movie. But these are included The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, mostly just the Headless Horseman one with Bing Crosby. The Adventures of Ichabod tells the classic Headless Horseman story, which is a true Halloween story with the Headless Horseman and Sleepy Hollow. And it has a voice of Bing Crosby. It pulls directly from the book, like pretty much almost word for word in some cases. The three songs are great. You can't reason with the Headless Man. The animation is fantastic. It's definitely something to watch with the family and the kids. It's the last 30 minutes of the special on Disney Plus. I mean, it's worth it. It's good. Next honorable mention is one that come up in recent years, but my wife and I freaking love it because just how fresh it is. It feels as a Halloween special, and that's a David S. Pumpkin special brought to you by SNL and starring Tom Hanks. So if you don't know who David S. Pumpkins is, a few years ago, Saturday Night Live or SNL on NBC, they did a Halloween skit called The Haunted Elevator. And basically, the joke is that the budget of the Halloween park is so low that they made up this character. And like some floors have like the girl from the ring and like someone with a chainsaw. But they open this floor and there's this dude in this pumpkin suit played by Tom Hanks, accompanied by two skeletons. And they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm David S. Pumpkins, man, and I'm gonna scare the hell out of you." And they're like, "What's so scary about you?" And what are these skeletons about? And the skeletons are like, we're part of it. And they just do this weird dance. It's like, I can't repeat it, but it's it's so funny. Um, and then Tom Hanks just like shows up randomly in the elevator, just scaring them. Um, it's just it's good writing. It's funny. But SNL a few years after this, because David S. Pumpkins was so popular, they created this animated special where basically David S. Pumpkins is like the new spirit of Halloween and helps this kid um, on Halloween deal with these bullies and like I don't know. It could be the new Halloween thing, but they need to keep at it. They really do and bring it back. So there's that. I apologize. And then the coup de grace for doing for TV specials for Halloween is, of course, Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin. I mean, come on, man. You think I was going to mention this? You got to do Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin, or it's a Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. My wife has a Charlie Brown Great Pumpkin shirt and purse from Loungefly. It's so cool. She just all smiles because she loves Halloween stuff. You know, we both do. But the Great Pumpkin, basically, Linus, Charlie Brown's friend, believes that if he stays in the pumpkin patch, that the Great Pumpkin will come. It's like the spirit of Halloween, and and it's just it's it's just so classic and iconic. I don't know how else to put it. If you haven't watched this special, I don't know what you're doing with your life, or you must be really young. You really missed out on something special. So watch that. So those are the honorable mentions of TV specials. All right, the final three here, with the last one being the absolute best of the best for Halloween time for everybody. Okay, so this one is one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. It's this and Young Frankenstein is what made me fall in love with Universal monsters all across the board. This one is just so good. Um, I don't think I missed any movies on my list, did I? Oh yeah, I did miss some movies on my list. To give you 31, I apologize. Um, so before I get to this one, I'm sorry. Um, During Halloween time, my wife and I always debate this. I say that they're Halloween movies because just the spirit of everything. My wife says no, they're fall movies. You can watch them between September, October, November, and December. They fall in the whole category. I'm like, okay, but like you can start them in September or Halloween, whatever. So there's a debate in the Peters family whether these are Halloween movies. I say that they're because they're fall movies, so she wins the argument because that's how it is. Uh, that they could be played during Halloween, and that of course is the Harry Potter franchise. Um, Harry Potter goes to Hogwarts in September, and it takes place. These movies all take place during a couple months of the fall and winter. It's Harry Potter time. Like I don't care. It's Harry Potter time. Other movies to include on there are Universal classics from the 30s and 40s, Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman. They're the best of the best of Universal monsters. They're not that scary that children will be really freaked out. They're really good. So recommend those. I mean, I did a whole season of Gravely Musing based on those and episodes. They're really the best of the best. So the last three. Speaking of Universal monsters, this movie in 1987 came out in 1987. I was just under 1 years old when this came out. This movie made me absolutely fall in love with horror comedies. This movie, I would say, is responsible for this podcast being created and me being a Halloween lover. And that is The Monster Squad. If you don't know what The Monster Squad is, basically it's a movie about a group of kids that just love monsters. Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy, Frankenstein, everything. They love movie monsters. They have a whole club led by a kid named Sean. Now, what happens is Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Gill Man, the creature from the Black Lagoon, they all come back and from their monster dimension or whatever, and they're searching for this amulet that will let them open up the doorway to this dimension and basically rule the world. That's Dracula is leading this. So it's Sean and his people versus Dracula and his team. It is really good. It's funny. It's where the iconic line "Wolfman's got nards" comes from. Um, the movie's freaking awesome. It's yeah, I love it. There is a little bit more, a little bit like higher, like uh, older teenage, like kind of like older preteen, teenager humor in this movie. But all in all, I think it's really fun, and I think you should definitely check it out. So, Monster Squad, check it out. Second on the list is the movie that is definitely not for kids. The whole franchise is based on it. On Halloween Day, we would drop the podcast. It's a two-parter. It covers the whole dang franchise. 45th anniversary coming this year, and it is of course John Carpenter's Halloween. If you're gonna watch one movie on Halloween that's a slasher, it's gonna be this one, of course, because it's Halloween. It's called Halloween. Like, it's the night he came home. Michael Myers is my favorite slasher character. I just think he's absolutely terrifying, and I will get into a little bit about him in a second. But you gotta watch Halloween, man. You gotta watch Halloween, and I highly recommend the 2018 version of Halloween. And and those versions, Halloween H2O is really good. But we'll talk more Halloween on the Halloween special. Now, now this movie does not take place during Halloween. This last one, which this movie is my favorite movie of all time. Love this movie. Just love it. Um, but it doesn't take place during Halloween, so you get me there. But it symbolizes all the greatest things about the Halloween spirit and Halloween season, and that is, of course, Ghostbusters with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Howard Ramis, Eddie Hudson, Rick Moranis, Sigourney Weaver, directed by Ivan Reitman. Um, you can't get better than this. I mean, mass hysteria, dogs and cats living together. And if anybody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. This movie is, it's just so funny. It's about these group of scientists who are friends who lose their position, they lose their jobs at teaching at university, and they decide to go into business to ghost hunt after they discover ghosts in New York library. So it started an iconic franchise. It's pretty much responsible. Came out in 1984. It's pretty much responsible for any type of horror comedy franchise out there. It it made me fall in love with movies and just how cool they could be, and spooky season. Like, all my friends get me Ghostbuster stuff. I just I, Peter Venkman is one of my favorite characters of all time in cinema, just anywhere. I pretty much am Peter Venkman. I just uh, love this movie. So iconic. And Ghostbusters Afterlife was a heck of a sequel to show respect to late Harold Ramis. Um, yeah, it's just so good. So there is your list of 31 movies, and I hope you have a wonderful Halloween season. But before I let you go, and the trailer for Gravely Amusing, I said that what started my whole journey and a wanting to know about horror and a wanting to know, uh, wanting to understand it and wanting to understand monsters and scary stuff was I was visited by a demon as a child. So this is what happened. And these are the experiences that I've had in my life since then. So when I was born, a few months later, my dad left, and I grew up without a father. Um, my mom eventually remarried her boyfriend of like 20 something years. So her boyfriend was there this night, but he wasn't like my stepdad then, and he hasn't been a father figure to me since I was a kid. But that's a whole other story that you don't really need you probably don't care about. So, anywho, um, so after my dad left, my mom, like from when I was a baby to the age of 7, she took us to church and got us incorporated. I think it was like a Pentecostal church. Um, but church is still very important to my mom, um, and my stepdad, and probably why I got involved in the church, probably too. And I'm not involved with the church right now, um, because people suck. But when I was 7 years old, so from when I was a kid to 7, I was always in the church. And when I was 7, my mom, um, well, not my mom directly, but when I was 7, our pastor cheated on his wife with like the church secretary. So it's because if anything gets pastors and rips churches apart, it's either they're stealing money or it's a sexual thing. It's always usually one of those two, sex or money is involved. So he cheated on his wife. So um, my mom's like, we're not going to go to that church anymore. We will we'll find another church somehow. Well, actually, I think she kind of like gave up on church there for a long time because it was supposed to be church. It's supposed to be a place that was full of good people and in my mom's eyes, and so we stopped going to church. And so one night, a little bit after that, um, my mom and her boyfriend Tony, who is now my stepdad, so I'll just say my stepdad. My mom's name is Brenda, so or Brenda Lee. I'm sorry. So my mom, my sister had already gone to bed. I have an older sister named Angie, who we don't have a good relationship. Um, but Angie's already in bed, and my mom and Tony are watching TV. And I go to bed and I kiss my mom goodnight. And she says, um, my mom would always say to me as a kid, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. And then, I had hugged Tony goodnight too. And this night I went to bed. And now, we lived in the projects, out in a town outside Pittsburgh called Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and we lived in the projects of that town. We were very poor during this time. My mom was going back to school to try to be a medical secretary. I didn't really see my mom a lot, and she was cleaning houses kind of during the day, trying to get any money she could. And then at night she would go to school. So she had just come back from school that night to kiss me goodnight. And my mom was so hardworking. So I apologize. I'm getting to the point. so, but so belief in the Peters household or was at a very low. So I go to bed that night. I kiss my mom goodnight. Go to my room, and my room was pretty small. But I had like a bookcase. Like it's a very rectangle room. I had basically you open the door and on the left was like a slide closet, and then then my dresser and a bit of a wall, and then facing front as you enter the room was a big window to see outside. And then on the right side of that window was a bookcase, and then I think I had my bike in there, and then my bed, and then under the window was like I think Tony, yeah, Tony got me a TV because he was trying to win, win my favor and make me like him as my mom's boyfriend. So that's the layout of my room. So it's pretty small. So immediately on the right from the door was my bed, and I climb into bed, and um and then I climb into bed and I'm sitting up. I just got into the bed, and I was definitely still awake because I was sitting up in bed, and I think I was checking my Goosebump books on my bed because like I had a stack of Goosebump books there, and I had a bed that had like a bookshelf built into it behind on the headboard. So I think I adjusted some of my books there, or maybe I thought about reading one. But I sat down, and like I'm still sitting up, and I'm just about to lay down, and then in the left corner of my room, to the left of the window, just between my dresser and the window, this red light starts coming, and so it started as just like a light red, and like could almost be a street light, but it started getting brighter, and this just red light, and then in the middle of the red light was the shadow that started forming, and it like it was becoming almost like a a muscular, like half man, half almost kind of like a minotaur type thing, but it was not like that. It basically it was like a creature was trying to give a human like appearance, but it couldn't find the strength or the know-how to form itself into a man. And it just was moving around like trying to make this form. And I was terrified. I'm like, what the hell is this? Because the shadow was so huge, and the red was shining around the shadow. So I pull the blankets over me, and this thing starts taking more of a humanoid shape. But it was very large. Like I don't know how to describe the shadow other than kind of like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journeys, like View of the Devil. But it was almost also like 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 Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Like it had a tail. It had like hooves, almost like Krampus. The and I don't know how to explain the shadow without someone drawing it, but it had horns and it had muscles and arms like a human, but it was some weird man beast. But anywho, this light intensifies and it shines through my blanket, almost blinding. And I'm so terrified. I don't know what's going on and I can't speak. It's like it shut off my ability to speak. I couldn't yell for my mom. I couldn't do anything. Like I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I was frozen in this trance fear like state. And all of a sudden I'm lifted in the air with my blanket on the top of me. And I start rotating and spinning in the room. And all I can see, and if the blanket doesn't fall off me, I don't know why, but I just start spinning just around in circles, and I'm seeing this red light and this shadow just come around me, around my face, almost like a tornado motion. And this thing starts talking to me in some language I just don't understand. I don't know what it was saying, but it was like, "Oh, Lola, oh, Lola," like that weird stereotypical demonic type voice, but it said things in a different language. It wasn't just random like, "Oh, la, 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 la," like Jabba the Hutt stuff. It said something, and I know that if I heard it again, I know what it was. But then it said things in English, and it says, "If you do that, I will take you with me." And I yeah. So, and then and as I was spinning, it felt like I was in something's arms and it was spinning me. Like I didn't feel like I was just floating in the air weightless. I felt like I was being held and spin around. Almost like he was lifting me with his mind, but it was so powerful that it was carrying me too. And and then after he says that, the red light goes out and I'm sitting on my bed again, but the blanket's off me and this thing's gone. And then eventually and then I'm able to speak and I just yell mom really loud and I burst out of my room and I'm freaking out. I'm like, "Mom, mom, I saw the devil." I didn't know how to explain it. I know what it was. And I think she was I think, she was probably smooching with her boyfriend, um, smooching with Tony. But my mom shrugged it off. She said I was just having a nightmare. I was like, "Mom, I was in there for like 2 minutes. I can't fall asleep in 2 minutes, mom." She's like, "Brian, you went to bed like an hour ago." I'm like, "Well, then he was talking to me for an hour, mom." And she didn't believe me and she wouldn't listen to me. So Tony is a very big horror fanatic, a very big horror fan. Tony likes Tony likes slashers and horror movies, and Tony loves Jason Voorhees and old classic horror. And that's probably why I got into it a little bit too. But Tony loved the Halloween franchise, and he loved Jason, and he had them all in VHS. So Tony would watch these frequently, a little while this happened, or I'm sorry, a little bit after this happened, and um, and I was definitely afraid of Michael Myers, like the no eyes, the white mask. I was terrified, and I kept wondering as months went on if this demon would come back for me, and yeah, so the only one that believed me was when I could talk to him was my dad. My dad believed me that I saw what I saw. So, but for the next couple months, some weird things kept happening in that room, and I would be watching something on my TV. So, or better yet, so it's like like it would happen when I was watching TV, and it would happen also when I was playing a video game. In the middle of the day, and one time my sister was there, so she can attest to it if she ever wanted to. But in the middle of the day, like we be playing a video game, and my TV would just turn channels and play the movie Halloween with Michael Myers. It would just go and play that, and I was terrified of it at the time. So like, what the hell? And it would always be mostly a scene where Michael was chasing Lori, and it would just play on my TV. It would just change to it, and it wasn't even Halloween time where this movie would be on TV. And usually, when I was a kid, it would be on USA, but it would just turn to the movie. I didn't have I didn't have a movie in the VCR. It would just do it during the day. And when my mom would come check it out, like my mom would be like, "Well, you're watching it on TV." And I'd be like, "Mom, check the TV guide. It's not even listed there." And my mom did do it, but then my her boyfriend did and pulled up on the TV guide and was like, um, "Well, it's not playing today, but it's playing on your TV. I don't get it." They would just shrug it off. But also, when I was a kid, like very late at night, the TV would go into like different colors, like the red or the pink, white, and cyan, like lines and stuff, or they would just go to static. And in the middle of the night, my TV would just turn on to static after I turned it off, or it would go and play Michael Myers movies, and it wouldn't end. And even though my parents saw it, they just thought that I don't know, I don't know what they thought. But, parents, whatever. Like, how could this TV turn on to a movie that isn't even supposed to be playing? Whatever. So, then from the age, like, 8 to 12, I would have a recurring nightmare at least twice a week where and it was so real. It's one of those, I don't know what they're called, those nightmares, but basically it felt real. And I would get up out of my bed and like it was real, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I would open up my bedroom door in an apartment. My bedroom door was like in the middle of the hallway, and I would have to make a right to go towards the bathroom, which was right next to my sister's room. And to the left would be my mom's room, and straight ahead would be the living room. I would open this door, and sometimes Michael would be standing right there and would just stab me in the gut. And then I would wake up. Sometimes I would walk towards the bathroom, and that's when and it was just pitch black in our apartment, except the light, and that was in the bathroom. And Um, and it felt real because I didn't see anything. And I'm walking towards the bathroom, and then I would actually go to the bathroom in this dream, almost like it was real life. Turn the light on, normal, go to the bathroom, wash my hands, turn the light off, and then open that door again. There's Michael, and he stabs me in the gut. And that went on all the time through my childhood. Like this, whatever attached to me, whatever was in my room wouldn't leave me alone and kept showing me all my fears. And in the sight of Michael. So my dad, I think it was somewhere around when I was 12, my dad finally showed up, and he brought his girlfriend at the time that was like into new age stuff and like tarot and like stuff that I still don't totally understand. But if they speak to spirits, whatever. Um, but he brought her, and she said something like, and they went in my room, and she said something like, there is something here. There is an entity that is in this room that is that wants Brian. Um, yeah, wow, okay. So my dad was very much into Native American culture. So my dad brought like my dad believed me in this. It's the only thing he ever believed me in, other than believing I was an idiot and worthless. But for some reason, he was interested in this. Maybe my dad summoned this demon. Who knows? But my dad brought a Native American shaman, uh, that friend of his from the actual Mohawk tribe, and this guy comes in my room, and my mom was all like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I guess she was just glad that my dad was there to spend time with me, quote unquote. And the shaman brought sage, and he walked around my room and like just purified it with sage. And then my dad called in. I think my dad called in like a priest along with the medicine man, and they basically tried to like. I wasn't allowed in the room, but I could like hear some things we were saying, and like they try to like exercise my room and get this thing out of there because some reason it was in my room. My sister never had problems. My mom didn't, whatever. But in my room, something was there attached to like me. And the medicine man then did some type of ritual with sage over my body to try to like purify it and rid these spirits. And it's it was interesting. And but from 12 for many years I didn't see anything ever again until I was about well at 14 I found God and I started working for the church and I became Christian. So um during that time, and um things got better. Me seeing these visions and these nightmares and whatever. But one time I was sitting in a parking lot and something was watching me out of a nearby window. I think like my mom was at the post office and there was this old houses nearby and outside of the old house was somebody watching me through the window. It didn't look like Michael, but they didn't look like they had like eyes. So s- so when I became an adult and stuff, I still always felt like something's watching me. Like I can't go to sleep with the door shut. I still feel like something's there. And like if my wife falls asleep on the couch, my wife tends to fall asleep pretty quick. But if she falls asleep on the couch or she's not in the room with me, I actually feel like something's watching me. Um, I still feel it to this day. It's not as bad as it was years ago. Lately, I've been doing pretty good, but I still feel like something's there and something's after me. And I don't know where it is. I don't know who it is. I don't know what it wants, but I still feel like it's there. And it all started when I was 7, so 30 years ago. So, and I've worked for the church many years. I don't anymore. I've been prayed over. I've been blessed and stuff. And I haven't had nightmares in many years. Well, I had a really bad nightmare a few weeks ago, but that it's not like they were before. But I do still feel like something wants me. So that's my story. um, and that's why I'm obsessed with demonology and occult stuff and horror movies. I obviously overcome my fear of Michael Myers because I turned it to researching about it and slashers and horror stuff. Once I started researching and learning more about it and occult stuff and demonology and monsters and myth, it made it easier to be able to handle it, even though I still feel something's watching me. So share with me the scary stuff that you have in your life. That's what gravely amusing is about. Is it's gravely amusing. That means it's barely funny. So, and that's me making jokes that aren't really funny. Um, share your stories with me if you have a, ghost story or you think someone's watching you. Uh, message me on X at gravely underscore amusing. You can find us on our Facebook page at Gravely Amusing. You can email me at gravely amusing at Gmail. I'm also on Instagram, Gravely Amusing. Um, Yeah, find me. Let's talk about it. But that's why the Halloween movie list is mostly family friendly. Like I will not watch The Exorcist. I can't do it. But that's why that's why I like this spooky stuff. So just trying to understand it. So thank you everybody guys. I hope you have a wonderful Halloween weekend. We got the Halloween special coming up talking about Michael Myers, my arch foe, personification of my fears. We're talking about that in a couple days. Nightmare on Elm Street. No, I'm Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare Before Christmas. And the Tim Burton special is coming up soon too. And the season finale of Gravely Musing will be coming out uh, the Friday before Thanksgiving as I take a break for the holidays and see you guys later. BP and the Finch still coming out as we just dropped the Batman Heroes versus Spider-Man Heroes episode last week. So we got a couple more episodes coming out this year, focusing on Loki, the Marvels, and of course Aquaman. So check me out on my other podcast, BP and the Finch. And I hope this thrilled you. I hope it horrified you. But nonetheless, I hope my demon story and this list left you gravely amused. Good night, everybody, and happy Halloween.